But in the nature of the existence, in the nature of this cosmos, sun is just a momentary happening. It just flashes up for a little bit of time and dies out. But the larger part of creation is largely dark, isn't it?
I don't know, we should ask an ophthalmologist why it is so, but when I really look at the sun or even the moon, particularly when I see the moon, people always… the sun is very much true, but it could be because you are getting blinded by the sun, which I don't, because I used to just stare at the sun for hours at one time. I always see a black halo around the sun, not a white halo. The same with the moon. But when he begins to stir, he's dark. There, if you want to go, you need courage, you are willing to transcend, you're willing to leave everything that you know and enter into a completely different area where you do not know what's the end for you. Or if you want to transact with him properly, when he becomes light, which is creation.
Vanakkam Sadhguru. Hi, I'm Rashmi. I'm from Chennai. Now, have practiced Shambhavi Mahamudra since I was 15. Thank you for it. And
Who is serving you idli and sambar here, huh?
my mom isn't here. I'm missing her. So my question to you is, since I've come here, I had to explain my way of upbringing, my culture, or the way I do certain things. And you have said Adiyogi is not light, he's darkness. But darkness is something, this is associated with evil in certain cultures.
I'm a dark person, so you're saying I'm evil?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not calling you evil. I understood what you said when you said Adiyogi was darkness, he was not light. But when I'm explaining it to my friend or to anyone for whatsoever, how do I put it in a context that they understand? Because like you said, there are cultural differences. And how do I put it in a proper context?
Is it okay for me, can I take the liberty of referring to you also as little bit dark like me?
I would love that.
Okay. So you're a dark girl, all right? Now that you're a dark girl, you make yourself so wonderful that people will start saying, oh, dark girls are wonderful. That's the only thing you should do in the world. Don't say, no, this color is good, that color is good, this is nonsense. Make yourself so wonderful, people see, oh, dark-skinned people are fantastic. If you try to do your Chennai in Detroit, that's not fair. No, I'm not mentioning fair as a complexion. Not fair because it's important that your culture and your way of doing things is as important as anything, but it's very important when you come to a new land, you don't try to impose that, you only keep it as a, we have a flower pot, but all the seats are occupied by human beings. But if we keep flower pots on all the seats, that will be meaningless, isn't it? So you must keep your culture like a flower pot, alive, always, colorful, alive, Chennai, all right? But don't try to make everybody do the Chennai stuff. This is Detroit. All right. So, isn't it fantastic that people who lived in different parts of the world are so different? Just imagine if everybody was same, you would want to go to another planet. Isn't it so fantastic? From one place to another, they're so different. See, this is the uniqueness of India. If anybody, very different kind of people come, Indians get very excited, different. But in most other cultures, something very different means they become defensive. This must change. You must be excited about the difference, not fearful about the difference. The fear about the difference comes from the crocodile brain in your head. The excitement about everything different comes from being human. And about you trying to sell darkness. See, light has become very valuable simply because of the way our visual apparatus are made. Suppose you were an owl. No, I'm not saying that. Suppose, because in South India, being an owl is not considered wise, it's considered stupid, okay? So suppose you were an owl, your value would be darkness, isn't it so? Hello? Because that's how your visual apparatus are. Right now, what you know as light, let's differentiate between what is light and what you know as light. What you know as light can only happen if something is burning. Is that so? Coal is burning, petroleum is burning, nuclear energy is burning, or the sun is burning. Something has to burn, only then the kind of light that you understand through your visual apparatus can exist. Anything that burns will not burn forever, is that so? It has to get exhausted somewhere. If you set up a lamp or a candle here, it may burn for 2 hours. This bulb may have whatever 20,000 hours they're talking. You may have 100 years, the sun may have 100 billion years, but everything that burns will burn out sometime, isn't it so? So what doesn't burn is always cool and dark, you and me, huh? So what doesn't burn is always cool and dark, there's an eternal character to that. So, out of this wisdom, we said in yoga, when we talk about the divine to a beginner, we refer to the divine as light, divine light. Once one advances in their experience of life, we refer to the divine as darkness. Because only darkness can be unlimited, borderless and infinite. Light, as you know it, can only happen in a momentary way. It flashes up and it goes down. So light, as you know it, is a very temporary and momentary happening in terms of existence. What you think is sun in human experience, because our life is just a few years, we think it's a limitless source of light. But in the nature of the existence, in the nature of this cosmos, sun is just a momentary happening. It just flashes up for a little bit of time and dies out. But the larger part of creation is largely dark, isn't it? Lightless, because it's eternal and always. So, it's good.
What is it that can be everywhere? I want you to look at this. Think of one thing that can be everywhere. Nature? What does nature mean to you? See, energy can be here, not be there, isn't it?
Either good or bad energy, it's everywhere.
No. See, there can be see, energy means it has a physical presence. So, there is energy here, maybe there is no energy there. It's a possibility, isn't it? What is it that can be everywhere? Oh, you're… Huh? Nothingness. Nothingness is the only thing which can be everywhere, isn't it? You don't like it. Now, you're flying up there, you're flying within the atmosphere, so there is something. Suppose your airplane takes off and flies beyond this atmospheric space. What is there? Total nothingness, isn't it? If you look up in the sky in the night, what do you see? Stars. But I want you to understand, stars are just tiny specks out there. The large mass is just vast emptiness, isn't it? It is in the lap of this nothingness, small somethingness has happened. Your planets, stars, galaxies are just little happenings in the vast emptiness of space. So nothingness is the only thing which can be everywhere. So if nothingness is all that can be everywhere, today modern science is proving to you beyond any doubt, everything is coming from nothing and going back to nothing. Do you know this? Do you know modern science is proving to you your theory of relativity, quantum theory and now the string one, they're all out to prove to you that everything comes from nothing and goes back to nothing. A whole galaxy of stars, many times they just collapse into themselves and become nothing. Some of them explode and become supernovas, but many of them just collapse into themselves and just become nothing. These are called black holes. So, everything comes from nothing, goes back to nothing. What you call as creation is just a small happening, a brief happening, maybe a few 100 million years, but still, in the vastness of the space, it is just a small, brief happening. You may think you are too much, but you are just a brief happening, isn't it? Simply you appear like this, you'll disappear tomorrow, isn't it? This planet also, it is appeared like this, it'll disappear tomorrow. But the vastness of the space is always there. It is in the lap of this space, everything is happening. It is in the lap of nothingness, somethingness sprouts and dies, sprouts and dies. So everything is coming from nothing. You know the word Shiva? The word Shiva means that which is not. The word Shiva literally means that which is not. That which is creation. That which is not is Shiva or the creator. So, this is ultimate science for you. They're just telling you everything comes from nothing and goes back to nothing. Because everything is supposed to come from Shiva and he is that which is not. He is nothingness. Or in other words, he is darkness. Space is just utter darkness, isn't it? Yes, experientially. The sources of light are always limited. If you see light, it means something is burning there. It won't be forever, it'll burn up after some time. You feel and see, something is burning here. Yes? In a mild way maybe, but something is burning and you can't keep the burning forever. You cannot keep any burning forever. It will burn itself out after some time. Even the greatest source of light that you know is sun. Even he is burning himself up. One day he will be done. Yes or no? Such a great source of light. Just with my hand, I can stop the light and leave a long shadow of darkness, isn't it? But darkness, can you stop it anywhere? It is everywhere, into everything. So, your religion's told you, God is everywhere. That means they're telling you God is darkness. But always you believed divine light, never divine darkness. In yoga, for beginners in yoga, we always tell them, God is light. As people advance in yoga, we tell them, God is darkness.
You're frightening us.
Huh?
You're frightening us.
Why? You're afraid of darkness?
Yeah.
See, darkness means there is nothing. Nothing cannot hurt you, only something can hurt you, isn't it? Isn't it so? Huh?
Nothing created us.
Yes. Why are you afraid of that which created you?
But that's nothing.
Yes, it's nothing.
But that means there is something which has made us.
See, there was some time ago this philosophy. Some time ago, modern science believed nothing can be actually created or destroyed. You can only convert one thing into another. Matter can neither be created nor can it be destroyed, but not anymore. Worldwide, physical research laboratories have done this. Now they can destroy a proton or a neutron, not releasing any energy, not becoming anything else, just simply plain destruction. An existing proton, you can make it non-existent. And in vacuum states, where nothing is, they can produce what is called as virtual protons and virtual neutrons. One of the experiments happened in the coal or gold mines. Do you know this? Because they wanted a certain depth and a certain pressure inside the earth. In 5 different places on the planet, they conducted a very significant experiment about 8-9 years ago. One point was coal or gold mines near Bangalore. And they can actually destroy protons and neutrons, and they can create protons and neutrons out of nothing. So, this whole idea of if something has to be there, something else has to be there behind it, doesn't arise anymore. Everything comes from nothing and goes back to nothing. Huh?
Nothing makes something.
May make something, not necessarily. So that dimension which I am referring to as a source of creation right now, what is its nature? Which is what I believe scientists are trying to figure out in some way. So, if I have to describe it in some articulation, we can only say it's nothingness. When I say nothingness, the moment I say nothingness, immediately in normal English language it has a negative connotation of not being anything or not worth anything. If I say you are nothing, it is understood as you're no good. So I'm not referring to nothing in that sense. Probably we would understand it better if you put a hyphen between no and thing. It is not a thing. It is non-physical in nature. So whatever you try to say about it in definition or in description is bound to be wrong even before you utter it, because it's non-physical in nature. So this non-physical nature, if you look at it, it has a fringe nature. It has a core nature which is absolutely non-physical, and it has a fringe nature which is dark, and it's a transition from non-physical to physical. I don't know, we should ask an ophthalmologist why it is so, but when I really look at the sun or even the moon, particularly when I see the moon, people always… the sun is very much true, but it could be because you are getting blinded by the sun, which I don't, because I used to just stare at the sun for hours at one time. I always see a black halo around the sun, not a white halo. The same with the moon. I think I've asked so many people, they all see white halo. But I always see a black halo around the sun because I see the same thing within myself. Probably people will think I'm the devil if I say this. The very core of what this is, around that there's always a black halo. And this halo gradually is transiting from non-physical nature to physical nature, which is dark in nature. So, we traditionally, in yogic terminology, we say, Shiva, when he sits still, he is nothing. The word Shiva means, Shiva means that which is not. That is, he is not. What is creation, what is not is the source of creation. So when you look at this aspect, the very core aspect is a non-existence. And immediately next to that, before the physicality happens, there is a dark face. We call something dark, and always in language and literature and in normal social connotation, the word dark is always understood as remote or even threatening or dangerous or negative. This is essentially because of the way our visual apparatus are made. Suppose you were an owl, you always would think dark as a very bright thing. So, the human perspective of dark being a negative aspect is a very limited way of looking at it. Our sense of vision, essentially. So when I say because of lack of terminology, or if I invent a new word, it won't be any better than dark, so I settle for dark. So this dark dimension is where you can understand the nature of creation. Beyond that, the total non-existent state, that is not a place to understand, that's a place to just merge, which is not the interest of a scientist. And mathematics will not go there. So, in the yogic tradition, we say when he moves, Shiva is a dark one. Always Shiva has been referred to as a dark one. In his ultimate state of Shiva, as Sadashiva, he is utterly still and nobody can feel him unless you're willing to become one with it. But when he moves, his initial phase of movement is dark. When he really comes out and becomes a part of the world, then he's light. So this is, in my perception, somewhere, people who saw the nature of creation within themselves are trying to explain this in a personified way. In his core, he's absolutely still. You cannot know where he is. You can only become one with him. If you're willing to be sucked into him, it's all right. But if you want to, in any way transact with him, it is not possible there. But when he begins to stir, he's dark. There, if you want to go, you need courage. You are willing to transcend. You're willing to leave everything that you know and enter into a completely different area where you do not know what's the end for you. Or if you want to transact with him properly, when he becomes light, which is creation, you can transact with him, you can see everything as Shiva and experience it, you can be devout about it, you can worship it, all that. But when you go to the dark phase or beyond that, there is no worship, there is no nothing, it is just dissolution. Which today I feel the modern physics is very much going in this direction. According to the law, according to the yogic law, how it goes is, Shiva was asleep. That means he became totally dead. But he's there, he's still, absolutely. And then Parvati or Shakti came and moved around him 3 times. Then he stirred up. It's from then creation happened. They clearly say they did not copulate. She just went around him 3 times. And the basic force of creation began to happen, which was not physical, which was a transition. So this dark face around Shiva began to expand. And then Parvati said, "Is this your creation? Look at this, what you created, just one dark wave of nothing. Is this what you're capable of?" Then he woke up. And then they copulated. Out of their copulation, the whole creation happened.
It could be a metaphor for
It is a metaphor.
scientific understanding of forces and particles.
We have experiments where, in absolute vacuum state, if you apply electromagnetic force, suddenly virtual protons and virtual
Virtual
neutrons
particles
happen.
come, yes, yes,
It doesn't even have to touch.
yes,
Just around that, if you apply electromagnetic force,
yes,
virtual protons and virtual neutrons happen.
yes,
So he said, what you're saying is very similar. She just goes around
yes.
and creation begins.
The spontaneous creation
Yeah.
of particles happens, and they come in pairs. They're always created in pairs.
That's what
which is
they
intrinsic.
happen in pairs and then they copulate.
Yes.
They touched each other.
And they and that annihilates to create energy. Those particles, when they annihilate each other, the way the energy forces work is that the electromagnetic forces around create from nothingness a pair of particles. And the pair of particles, when they join, they copulate, actually spontaneously results in the creation of energy. This is a very well accepted scientific principle and verified in experiment.